Good evening, guys. I've been on hiatus for a few days, but I'm back. Had a few medical emergencies with a couple of my senior guys, but all is well now. So I wanted to take a couple of questions that were submitted over the last few days that people have specific interest in me answering. So one of the first ones was about dogs that are basically downsized, dogs that have been used to being in large areas like acreage or big fields, or at the very least yards, that have had to go into a downsized situation. And in particular, the question was about working breeds, right? So dogs that are bred to work, to not just lay around and be lap dogs, which I don't think there's such thing as a dog that was bred to be a lap dog anyway. They all need exercise just like we do. So my answer to that, when what the question was about, was how would you fulfill the needs of a dog that is a high drive dog, or a dog that needs to run and to herd or to exercise a lot, which, as I said, every dog needs to do in the first place, even though some dogs' needs are more extreme than others. But what I would say to that is that physical exercise, or the act of actually walking in a pack, or running on the beach, or playing ball or whatever, that's not the only way to drain a dog's energy. There are lots of ways to drain a dog's energy. In fact, some of them take way less time than, let's say, a pack walk would take. So the key is that we need to challenge our dogs, because in their natural world, they would not be just laying around waiting for something to happen. They would either be migrating, they would be moving forward. Obviously, they sleep and they rest from time to time, but they would be basically earning everything they get in the course of a day, in the course of a week, in the course of a year, whatever their lifespan was, right? So we have to replicate that if we're going to bring dogs into our lives and expect them to maintain that psychological balance. So not everybody is going to be able to do what those of us that do training for a living do, and even some of us that do training aren't even capable of doing as much exercise as others may do, right? One of the things that I'm kind of known for, one of my sort of signature thing, is that I work with packs of dogs. So that is my go-to exercise, or my go-to way of socializing a dog. I tend to get dogs that have antisocial or social deficits in the first place, so that's my thing. But not everybody has the ability to do that, especially somebody that your average person that works 9 to 5 and comes home and has a split second to get their kids ready, their dinner ready, their spouse taken care of, or whatever. So they're not going to be able to do that. But you can accomplish so much in such a short period of time if you know how to just challenge a dog. What does that mean? Well, that means you could do something as simple as just basic obedience exercises, right? That will affect a dog's behavior. They're not like two separate entities, like here's dog obedience, here's dog behavior. They're all combined. They're all intertwined. So a lot of times what I will do when I'm working a dog out here on the deck, which is right in front of my home, which is a perfect way for me to, it's so close to the house and it's so close to where I kennel the dogs that come into me to be worked with, is what I'll do is put place boards around the edge of this deck, and I'll actually bring my dogs out and put them on a place while I exercise and work other dogs on very specific things that they need to be worked on. So that accomplishes, it's twofold. It helps the dogs that I'm working, because let's say I've got a dog that I'm working with that's got an issue with other dogs, so he has to maintain his cool as I work him around other dogs. And it's good for my dogs because they have to maintain a position that I've asked them to go into. That may not seem like it makes much sense, because the dog is just staying there in one spot, but actually that is a mental challenge for a dog, to stay in a certain position for a specific amount of time. So you can do that. You can do fetch exercises. You can do retrieve exercises. You can do recall. There's all kinds of things that you can do and work with a dog. Seriously, this is going to blow you away, but no more than 15 minutes at a time. You could literally come home and work your dogs in a specific activity, or a few specific activities, for no more than 15 minutes, and absolutely drain them and exhaust them. More so than you would if you took them on a walk where they're pulling you 20 feet ahead and there's no control whatsoever. They're going to come back in even more excited with an adrenaline rush than they were before you took them out in the first place, okay? So that's my kind of short answer to that question. Now, secondly, someone asked me what I think of dog parks. I don't do dog parks. And the reason I don't do them is because they're not really dog parks. They're actually a place where people take their dogs. I don't want to come across judgmental about this, because there are lots of people that do dog parks the right way. And some of them that have had success, more often than not, or even constantly, they've just gotten very lucky where they haven't had some rogue dog come in, or an owner that's not in control of their dog. But for the most part, I stay away from dog parks, because the way I look at it, it's hard enough to control your own dog for most people, to control your own dog and your own dog's reaction to other dogs. But it's particularly hard to go in and control a situation where there are multiple dogs with multiple owners, all of whom have just met each other for the first time, or may go in there occasionally or not. I know people that follow me or are my students have heard this a zillion times, but I always liken it to whether you would send your child to a party if you don't know if the parents are home, or if you don't know if that kid that sort of is the bad the bad seed of the class that instigates problems with all the other kids. You wouldn't send your child there unattended any more than you would go to a dog park, when you have absolutely no ability to control other dogs in that dog park. If you dare to correct another dog, you might upset the owner. People go there innocently enough. I get it. They go there because they want to find a way to drain the energy of the dog, and they think, what could be more fun for a dog to play with another dog? But you're dealing with multiple personalities, and in their natural world, there would never be a situation where a group of dogs that had never met before would go into an environment that's enclosed like that in a fully dominant, excited state of mind, because it's just a matter of time before there's an accident that happens. Again, I know there are those of you that are sitting out there going, oh my gosh, we've done it for years without incident. That's awesome. And I know people that have done it as well, and there are little dog parks around here that, in my area, that there's never been an incident in. And then there's some that there's been one horrible incident where a dog killed another dog, and that the dog park closed and they never were able to open it again. So it's just basically the equivalent of, I mean, you can have good situations and you can have bad situations. I'm just saying my choice for my clients and for myself is I would rather have a group get together, and people have done this. My clients have done this, even putting a group together by going on Craigslist and saying, hey guys, I'm somebody that really believes in socializing their dog and in giving their dogs controlled, structured exercise on a daily basis. Who's interested in joining up and creating our own little dog park scenario, right? Where we can all walk our dogs together on a trail, or we can, and so you get the whole vibe of socializing your dog, but you've got people that are of the same state of mind, right? So they're all interested in doing things in a disciplined, managed fashion, right? I think my dogs disappeared. There they are. Come on, you guys. Sander, come here. So you see the difference there, and something you could do. You can just do just about anything now. There are neighborhood groups. I belong to a group of people that are just in this neighborhood that have like a neighborhood watch kind of thing, and people get together and go, hey, we're going to do this with our dogs, or we're going to do that, or we found a dog, or we lost a dog, or whatever. So you can put your own group together, which would be much healthier than just going into an unknown scenario where you either have dogs that you don't know, or you have people that you're not sure of their ability to control their own dogs, okay? So I don't want to go any further on that, because I want to answer one more question before I go too long. Somebody asked me if dogs can be mentally unstable. Yes, they can. Meaning what the person was referring to was not an instability that comes from them living in a home where they start off balanced and then they gradually become sort of a neurotic mess because of the way they're being related to in the home, whatever. This person was referring to more of an organic issue where a dog is actually born with a mental instability. Of course that can happen, because that happens in our world, in the human world as well, where people are born with handicaps, and people are born with illnesses, right? That are just like, I mean, it's sad, but there's a percentage of the world where people are born with heart problems or mental problems or whatever, and they just come out of the womb that way. So that's definitely a situation that can happen. I see all too often people that rescue a dog from a situation. I knew one in particular. This was a very sad situation, and I worked very hard, and I think ultimately I ended up convincing the owners that this was not their fault. But this was a wonderful couple. They're still friends. A wonderful couple that had gone and rescued they'd responded to an ad that their local rescue had put out, that there was a whole litter of puppies that were born, and the mother died in childbirth, and so these puppies didn't even have their eyes open. They were only a few hours old. Well, everyone ran to rescue these dogs, which is awesome. That's what makes us so cool as humans, is this compassion that we have. They all went in a group to rescue these dogs under the umbrella of this rescue organization. They all had to be bottle fed, and of course no one really knows how to handle that situation, because in their natural world, again, this is how you have to look at it, in their natural world, those dogs would have perished without the intervention of a human. Okay, so all those dogs were kept alive. They all ended up growing up and all being placed as young puppies, young, maybe 3-4 months old. They were placed in homes. I say this without question because I know what happened to every one of those dogs, and every one of those dogs ended up being really problematic, huge issues, huge social deficits, because there's nothing that you can do to replace that that socialization that a dog gets from their mother and their siblings. There's just nothing you can do, and the reality is that those dogs, if nature had taken its course, those dogs would have only lived a few hours and then would have perished. So it's really the sad part about it was that the clients that came to me blamed themselves for years that this dog, their particular dog, had become incredibly aggressive, because he started out being aggressive as a very young pup. He ended up having a bite history a mile long by the time he was only a year old. This was not their fault, and I worked really hard to convince them of that. I worked with the dog. I got the dog a certain distance. I could never get the dog all the way there. There was no way the dog was ever going to get all the way there. They ended up managing his behavior, and that's how he lived out his life. And he did live out his life, which is cool and huge for these people to have made this commitment and this sacrifice, because they were never allowed to have. Ironically, the dog was awesome with other dogs. He was just horrible with people. So they were able to socialize. And when he came here, he walked in my pack. He was an amazing dog with my pack. He just was not good with anyone except me. So that's the answer to that. Yes, there can be literally organic issues with people, with animals of any species. That's a given. It's a sad reality of life. That's life. That's the world we live in. So I hope I answered. That's 3. I got 3 down. I have about 9 to go, I think, over the last few days. But again, I love it when you guys hand me questions and topics to answer, because it's just so much more fun and more fulfilling for me to know that I'm addressing a specific topic that's important to you guys. That's what I want to be for you. I want to be there and answer the things that are important to you. Okay? I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the evening. I know in some places it's probably really late. It was miserably hot here today, so there's no way I could get out and do this any earlier than 7 my time. So that's what I did. All right? So love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.